This morning, I'm going to talk about supply chain management, our view of supply chain management here at Fisher College of Business. Back in 1992, when I was teaching in Florida, I put together a research center that moved here with me in 96 when I came back to Ohio State. There were a couple of things that were unique about that research center at the time, and that is that the companies would all be non-competitors, that there would be no one in the group who had something to sell to everyone else in the group. So this was not a marketing opportunity. It was a chance for people to come together and talk about major issues of the day. The other thing that was unique about the group was that they would set the research agenda. My thinking was that if I had the right companies, more important than the right companies, the right individuals, and I listened to them, that they would lead me the right way in terms of the research. And so the view of supply chain management and also the notion of partnership that I'm going to talk about came out of research over the last 17 years with this group of executives. And the companies include 3M, Colgate, Coca-Cola, Cargill, Bob Evans, Hewlett-Packard, International Paper, TaylorMade, Adidas Golf, Limited Stores. I'm forgetting some, I'm sure, but you get the idea. They're all pretty good companies, and we get high-level participation from these companies. Again, the first project they wanted to work on was partnership. They said, we're not very good at this. We think long-term our companies will depend on it. And so we spent 2 years studying 18 relationships that they were involved in that they called good partnerships. The thinking was that if we studied relationships that were successful relationships, understand what made them successful, that we could replicate the successes and avoid the failures. In their view, there were few successes, many failures. They'd start relationships that both sides were calling partnerships. A lot of enthusiasm at the beginning, but they usually ended up bad marriages and in divorce. So again, we studied partnership for a period of a couple of years, and then we went on to how you measure and sell value. Because if you provide value for customers and don't explain it in financial terms, probability is high you won't get full recognition for the value provided. From 1996 till now, we've been working on our cross-functional, cross-firm view of supply chain management. And I think when you think about supply chain management, the first thing to do is answer the question, what's a supply chain? If you're going to manage something, seems like it's important to know what it is. In our view, a supply chain is a network of companies. It's the companies that you buy from, their suppliers if they exist, the companies that you sell to, their customers if they exist. And it seems to me that you can't manage a network of companies with fewer functions than it would take to manage one company. That logically, that doesn't make sense. So in our view, supply chain management is the implementation of 8 cross-functional, cross-firm processes. The first thing that we need to do is implement them within our firm, and then the next thing we want to do is link them up with key customers and suppliers. Given that a picture is supposed to be worth 1,000 words, this figure is our depiction of what we're talking about. We've got a manufacturer in the center of a supply chain. That would be like a Colgate or a 3M. And we've assumed for the purposes of this chart 2 tiers of suppliers and 2 tiers of customers. Now, clearly, there could be more than 2 tiers of suppliers, and rather than sell to Walmart, who sells to a consumer, we could sell to a distributor who sells to a retailer who sells to a consumer. But for the purposes of this illustration, this will work. Now, the first level of silo we have to penetrate is, as we think about linking up firms across the supply chain, is the corporate silos. And what do I mean? Well, it's primarily a trust issue. I can't tell you about a big promotion that I'm planning too far in advance because Your sales team also calls on my competitors and you might let it slip. I can't involve you early on in new product development because my ideas may find their way to competitors. The benefits are great when we can somehow figure out how to penetrate these corporate silos. Now, the big one in the middle, the manufacturer silo, is designed to show that if you expand any one of those corporate silos and look inside, you're going to see functional silos. And the unhappy thing there is people get rewarded for behavior that's not customer friendly and it's not shareholder friendly, much of it driven by bad metrics. What do I mean? Well, we take costs that have got nothing to do with making the product, like security guards at the factory gate, plant manager's salary, nothing to do with the amount of product we make in a factory, and we spread them across units and act like they're variable costs, and then we hold plant people responsible for low cost per unit, which makes them then want to make lots of product. Marketing gets paid for revenue generated, so even the sales and marketing folks in the company, who are supposed to be the ones most customer focused, aren't, because we're paying them for revenue. They'll try to get customers to buy in quantities they don't need, and then many times if there's a freshness issue, we'll end up with return goods that we caused. You think about financial people in the organization, they're motivated based on financial metrics. For example, Ford Motor Company has 19 inventory turns. Inventory is 2% of assets, and yet dealers sit with 90 to 120 days supply of finished automobiles, the absolute most expensive cars you can have in the supply chain. So the whole auto industry's got it wrong, right? They should be making cars to individual customer orders. You should get the biggest discount for placing an order and waiting 2 weeks, not for buying the car you don't want.